Hello class. Now in this lecture we will see what is the meaning of boundary. In the previous lecture we have seen what is the mean of system. The same example we are carry forward for to understand the meaning of the boundary. Okay. So in the previous lecture I told you this is our first system, this is our second system, and this is our third system. And similarly, Earth is our system which we have considered on the big scale. So if we're going for those examples, just take a definition. The envelope enclosing the system, which may be real or hypothetical, is known as the boundary of system. Okay. Here you need to focus on two keyword, that is the envelope and envelope. Okay, the envelope enclosing the system. Okay, and the second thing, this is boundary may be real or hypothetical. So here the enveloping region or the envelope which enveloping the system is called as boundary, and that boundary may be real or hypothetical. Hypothetical means imaginary. Okay, so just take a first example. Here I have told you this is our first system, this is our second system, and this is our third system. And in addition to that, these three systems, there are some more system are present over here. Just sake of time, we are considering here our first system. So here this system are enveloped by this pot. Okay, the pot, what is the system? The volume present inside this pot is our system, and it get enveloped by this metal thickness. Okay, this get enveloped by this metal body. Okay, and another thing, if this pot is open from the top, means no any lid is present on the this pot, then there is a open uh, area, or we can easily we can easily access the thing inside the this pot. If there is no any pot or no any sorry there is, if there is no any lid present over the pot, so is it a boundary then? Yes, this is also boundary, but this is a imaginary boundary or hypothetical boundary. Means if this pot is not closed by any lid, or if any no any lead is present at the top of this pot, it doesn't mean that this is not a boundary. Boundary is there because the till the edge of this pot, at the till the top edge of this pot, system is there, whether there is a lead present or not present. So if lead is present, then we can say there is a real boundary are present at the all the side of the system. If no any lead present over this pot, then we can say only few area or few sides of this system are enclosed by real boundary, and one side of this system is enclosed by hypothetical or imaginary boundary. Similarly, in case of the second system also, so here also this is a whatever the volume present inside this pan is the system. Okay, and whatever the volume present outside this uh, pan is not a system. Whenever we are focusing on this part, whenever we are focusing on the pan, then whatever the volume present outside this pan is not a system. So that volume may be a liquid, that volume may be a gas, that volume may be of solid also. So this volume is get enclosed by this boundary. Okay, this volume get enclosed by this metal sheet, and it is open from the top. So here also same like this system, top area is open, so it doesn't mean that it is not it is not a boundary. This is a boundary which enveloping this volume equal to the shape of this pan. Okay, but this boundary which is present at the top is hypothetical one. If lead is there, then we can say this is a real boundary which is enclosed that volume from the all side. If you take the example of this bottle, okay, here every side of bottle is enclosed as a lid is present. Okay, as lid of this bottle is present over it, so it means that whatever the volume present inside this volume is a system which is get enveloped by, enclosed by a real boundary. Okay, this is a boundary. Similarly, like to this shelf also, whatever the volume present inside the shell, it get enveloped by a real boundary. Now, if you take the example of Earth, there is no any real envelope present over the Earth. Okay, it is not like a real like bottle, it having a physical lid. But in case of the Earth, all the around the Earth, there is no any kind of real kind of envelope present. It's just a imaginary envelope present over the all over all the around of the Earth, that is atmosphere. So Earth get enveloped by atmosphere. So it is a imaginary. Imaginary means we can't see the atmosphere by our eye. We can't see the ozone layer by naked eye. Of, till we are not making any laboratory test, we can't find it is a ozone layer or what. It is not physically feel, or it is not observe whether it is ozone layer or not, whether it is an atmosphere layer or not, but it is there. Okay, so this is a imaginary envelope present at around the earth, all around the earth. So this atmosphere here playing a role of boundary for earth. Similarly, in case of the fuel tank, which the example which we was taken in the previous lecture, in case of the fuel tank sheet metal is enveloping the system inside it. So that sheet metal is envelope, its sheet metal is a boundary for that system. Okay, so this is a real boundary because we can feel it is a physical boundary. If we open the that tap of that fuel tank, or if we open the fuel fill tap of that fuel tank, then at that area or at that region our boundary become open. Okay, so in that case what will happen? In that case, it is not like that boundary is not present at that area. There is a boundary. If we come out from the tank, then we are entering to the another region. We are not present at our specified region. So till where our specified region volume is there, till that point our boundary is there. Okay, so after we are come out from our specified region or specified volume, we are crossing the boundary. Okay, similarly here also, if any rocket will launch from the earth, so this rocket will start coming towards the atmosphere, or it start going out from the earth, and whenever it go rising, and whenever it crossing the atmosphere and entering to the space, then we are saying the this rocket crosses the boundary. Okay, because this is not a physical boundary, it is a imaginary or hypothetical boundary present in the form of the gas in the uh, what gas region or gas volume. So whenever it crossing this atmosphere, we can say the rocket have crosses the boundary of earth. Okay, so same way in cases of tank also, if you open the lid of the tank to fill the fuel, then it means what? We are open the boundary, not open the boundary is there, just the boundary is physical boundary is now converted as a hypothetical or imaginary boundary. So whenever we are filling the fuel in that, so that fuel crossing the boundary, that crossing the imaginary boundary, and new fuel get filled into the fuel tank. Okay, so this is the boundary. Another thing need to be understand about the boundary may be rigid or flexible. Again I want to quote the example of fuel tank and the fuel tank only. Okay, because in case of the fuel tank, what happened, uh, in case of the fuel tank, if I just take example of fuel tank here. If fuel tank is there, okay, consider this is a fuel tank. Okay, this is a tap. Okay, and if and this is a made by sheet metal. Okay, definitely fuel tank is made by the sheet metal. And consider here balloon. Okay, just imagine this is a balloon. Okay, which is inflated right now. This is a balloon. Okay, now if I remove all the air present inside the fuel tank and petrol also, if this fuel tank is empty and I remove all the air present inside this fuel tank, okay, what left inside the fuel tank? It is only vacuum, or we can say it is a negative pressure present inside the fuel tank. So atmospheric pressure try to break this fuel tank definitely, as we are doing in case of our plastic bottle. When we remove all the air of air present inside the plastic bottle, that Bisleri bottle, small 1 liter bottle, then what will happen? That bottle get crushed by atmospheric pressure, is it? Okay, so similarly in case of this fuel tank, if I remove all the vacuum present inside it, sorry, all the air present inside it, then what will happen? The atmospheric pressure, if all the air removed from this fuel tank, definitely negative pressure will present inside the fuel tank, and all the atmospheric pressure try to crush this fuel tank. But as the boundary of this fuel tank is made by sheet metal, it is so much rigid in order to withstand at that atmospheric pressure crushing force. In front of the atmospheric force, crushing force means it resists the crushing of itself, because the tank or the boundary is rigid. But the same thing if we do for the balloon, if I remove entire air from this balloon, what will happen? That balloon become like this. Okay, means what will happen? Well, when I remove the air from the inflated balloon, the balloon volume get decreases, or in other words I can say the balloon get collapse and it become this like small. On another hand, just let's take another example. If this balloon is inflated in that much volume, if I fill air in it, then what will happen? The shape of the balloon or volume of the balloon increases against the atmospheric pressure, is it? So what you can find what difference you can find in between them here, whether you are removing the volume from or mass from this system, the volume of system is remain fixed whenever we are having the rigid boundary, and whenever we are having the flexible boundary like balloon or any provision, other kind of provision, okay, piston cylinder arrangement like provision, then whatever the boundary we have, it is a flexible boundary. So this one is a rigid boundary. Okay, doesn't mean that it not depend whether mass or volume present in the system, it reduces their what we can say, it reduces their collapsing, boundary will not collapse. Okay, so it is a rigid boundary. And here what is that? It is a flexible boundary. So flexible boundary and the rigid boundary, this is the another classification of boundary. So boundary may be real, may be imaginary, it may be a rigid, or it may be a collapsible. So rigid boundary, so sorry, the real boundary may be a rigid type or collapsible type, and the imaginary boundary is not a rigid, not a collapse, flexible. It is a there we can't physically sense it, like atmosphere of Earth, or like as I told you, if lead is not present on the pot, it is doesn't mean that the boundary is not there. It is a imaginary boundary. So this is a boundary. So I hope you have understand the concept of boundary here. So this is the boundary. So whatever the boundary or whatever the end region which enveloping a system is nothing but a boundary. It may be a real or a hypothetical. So I feel you have understand the meaning of boundary. If still if you feel any difficulty to understand this concept, put your question in our comment section. Thank you.